Welcome back to my channel. I am Kimberly, your host, and this is Beyond Evil True Crime. I want to start off by thanking each and every one of you. I noticed that I have 300 subscribers, and that is a huge milestone. I didn't think I would have 30, 40, 50, 300. I want to thank each and every one of you. And I want to give a special shout out to Peace World. They are a subscriber who checked on me because I had been MIA for a little while, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And thank you for subscribing and checking for me. Today, trigger warning, we are covering a case of the death of 2 small children, infants, and the abuse of another. So if that is not your thing, or it's very triggering, catch me on another one. Unfortunately, most of mine will be about children, but and this one is not going to be as detailed as the Jones story. So if you are interested in just listening for the facts of the case, this one is pretty much it. It will tell you what happened to the children, but it's more so on the doer, not so much on the victims this time around, because the victims have very tiny lives. And I also have a PSA. A shout out to my transgender, homosexual, gay, lesbian, all that in between, LGBTQ, and all the alphabets. I want to let you know I am not homophobic. I am the mother of a 28-year-old daughter who has been gay since she was 7. So I pretty much judge people for their actions, not for how they look, what they do for themselves or for other people, or what they do for a living, or any of that. I judge you by your actions against the human race. So if you have done wrong, I will give no shits about talking about you. This particular man, and I only say that because he now wants to be a she, so might get some transgender people trying to come for me. But before you come for me, listen to the whole entire case. Listen to what he's done to these babies. And if you decide he's worth your time, then you're not worth mine either. And I'm just going to keep it real. You can say whatever you want to say in the comments, but you won't get a reaction from me, because I care more about the victims than him. And I believe that once you go to jail, if you are, once you take a life and you go to jail, there's a whole lot of things that can happen depending on why you took this life, how you took this life, what this life did to you in order to make you do what you did. Jason Michael Hann killed 2 babies that were biologically his before they were 4 months old, 5 months old. What can an infant do to any human being to deserve death? Not a damn thing. So, with that being said, don't come for me, regardless of how I feel about this whole entire case. You'll understand how I feel in a second, because I'm going to get into it right now. Jason Michael Hann, who was convicted of murdering his 6-week-old son and his 10-week-old daughter, and endangering the life of his 4-week-old son. He's doing life. Actually, he's on death row. He's got 1 sentence in 1 state, and in California, he's on death row. He decides, he now wants to be a she. And he didn't want to be one before. This is where I have some problems. But let's continue on. With Lynn Werntz, his longtime girlfriend and the mother of his 3 children, he managed to kill 2 of her babies and brutally abuse a third. She want to act like she ain't got no sense. And I didn't know. Look, you dizzy broad. You knew. But she would only be convicted of the murder of her daughter of 10 weeks. I believe she got 15 years. So that's that. The victims in this case are Jason Michael Hann Jr., 6-week-old. Montana Jean Hann, 10 weeks old. Jason Michael Hann, again, we're going to refer to him as Michael, 4 weeks old. Jason Michael Hann, that we're going to refer to as Michael, the 4-week-old, is still living. He was found still alive, but brutally abused, and the other 2 are deceased. Jason, who now goes by Jessica, we will be referring to him as Jason because he was Jason when he was doing all this bullshit. So we're gonna call him Jason, and to keep down confusion. So not just because I got issues with him, but because to keep down confusion. He refers to himself as a female. He is demanding that California approve his gender reassignment. He put in for a new birth certificate to change, his gender and his name, all that good stuff. At the time of his arrest in 2002, he was holding his 4-month-old son, who at the time looked perfectly fine. Nobody thought anything was wrong with him. So that's his 3rd child. He was living as a man. He was living with his long-term girlfriend and the mother of his 3 children. But he goes to jail and now he has an epiphany. I'm a little concerned about his thought process. And I know people are thinking, well, if he killed his infant children, he can't be right in the brain. No, he can't be. So why are we supposed to believe that his gender now is affecting him so bad, so poorly that we must pay for this surgery because it is cruel and unusual? Yeah, no, not falling for it. But anyway, moving on. In July 1999, Jason was living in Vermont with Krissy. And this is when he beat and killed his 6-week-old son. Baby Jason was born in Ohio, May 23rd, 1999. He was murdered by his father at a campground in Vermont on July 4th, 1999. His remains were discovered April 23rd, 2002. And at the time, Krissy told detectives that the couple kept his remains in a plastic container in the back seat of their car as they traveled the country. And she wasn't charged for nothing. Deputies discovered Jason's decomposed remains inside of a black nylon bag, which was wrapped with 17, almost 20 bags, trash bags, and it had air fresheners in it, and it had been placed inside of another plastic container and left in a storage unit. And once it was found, he was so decomposed that they weren't able to tell anything about the soft tissue, like if he had any bruises or anything like that. However, an autopsy revealed that he had suffered fractures of his ribs adjacent to his spinal cord, and the location of the fractures indicated that the trauma that he received was not accidental. And it was basically characteristics of abuse, which the child had been grabbed by the chest and the abdomen and squeezed. with great pressure. And this occurs in shaking, shaking baby syndrome, or being picked up and thrown against something. So either which you say you did, you got two options. You shook them to death or you threw them up against something. In which way it goes, neither one of them are good. And so basically the medical examiner deemed that Jason's death was a homicide, but undetermined means, because it was too many variables of what happened to this poor baby. 2 years later, while living in California, Jason would kill his 10-week-old daughter, Montana. Montana was born in Lake Havasu, Arizona on December 1st, 2000. The couple was set off for California January 1st of 2001. Montana was murdered with a blow to the head about 6 weeks later on February 10th, 2001. In the desert hot springs, which is in California. I think it's pretty much like Indio. And her remains will be discovered February 18th, 2002. So basically a year later. Jason kept Montana's remains in a plastic bag under their bed in a trailer till about October 16th, 2001. When the couple rented a storage unit in Arkansas, they put her there and left her. And wouldn't you know, the couple stopped paying rent on the storage, and the storage company auctioned it off. The auction winner discovered the remains. And what happened was the auction winner was actually throwing away stuff and was emptying out the container, and Montana fell out. They saw her hand. That was all that they saw, was like her hand and her arm. And of course they called the law and everybody came out. And it was said that her head was encased in duct tape so tight that the people originally thought maybe that was her cause of death, like suffocation, like they did that to her, but that wasn't it. She was also so decomposed that they couldn't tell any soft tissue injuries. However, the autopsy will reveal that's a word, reveal several fractures. It was fractures of her, the bony plate on the top and the sides of her head, of her skull. And that led the medical examiner to believe that she was swung and her head impacted a hard surface twice. Not once, but twice. Montana's left tibia was also fractured in 2 pieces. Not in 2 places. It was fractured into 2 pieces. And according to a Dr. Cox, the fracture was caused by bending and twisting the leg. Pretty much like you bend and twist, to break a pencil. But like, how some people they go like this, but you kind of like twist it a little bit. Like that's how they described it. And there was evidence of healing. So that indicated that the fracture that was inflicted probably 3 or 4 weeks before Montana's death, which was about when she was 6 weeks old. There would have been swelling and redness. So Krissy would say she didn't know any abuse was happening to any of these kids. She didn't know anything. The doctor's like, no, this broad is lying, because you would have seen there would have been swelling, there would have been redness, and it'd have been so obvious to the naked eye that there was something there that caused pain, and that would have resulted in the baby crying excessively and being extremely fussy, which is probably what led to her death, because Jason broke her leg, broke her tibia, and she's crying. She's in pain. She's in constant pain. So she's crying more than usual. Babies cry, and she's crying more than usual, and he couldn't take it anymore, and he slammed her up against something twice, and she died. But Her lower left leg near her ankle had also been fractured, which you also would have been able to see from the swelling. Krissy claimed saw none of this. This wasn't the case. But it would have been very painful, and there's no way that this baby wouldn't have been in constant pain. And the medical examiner had to consult a forensic anthropologist to determine what the age was, because her age, of course, she was smaller than average. She was not eating as, they were feeding them, but when you're in pain, you're not trying to eat. So she was in pain for like 3-4 weeks. So she was little, and but they did conclude that she was 10 weeks old when she died. On April 22nd, 2002, Portland, Maine police responded to a call informing them that Jason and Krissy were staying at a motel. While police were formulating a plan to get them out of the room with the minimal disruption to society and any harm to themselves, they were, around the lobby area, and Krissy went out to go to the vending machine, which was in the lobby, the motel lobby, and she got apprehended by the police. Then the clerk called the room where Jason and the 4-week-old baby were, and said that Krissy sprained her ankle. They're getting ready to call medical ambulance or something. He was like, oh, no, don't do that. I'll be down there. I'll take care of it. So he then begins to, come out of the room. The police get him, take the baby, and, he goes off. They take him away. The baby goes to a foster home. Now, I was a little bit concerned because I would have thought that the baby would have been checked out prior to going to a foster home, but they didn't really say the time of day it was when they did this raid on the motel. But I know that the baby was in a foster family's care within the 12 hours after they were arrested. But I would have thought that they would have taken them to get medical treatment first, because you're already arresting this couple because you found a baby dead in a plastic container. You find them with a baby. Let's just make sure this baby is okay. That would have been my thoughts, but they didn't. The baby goes to the foster home. The foster home, the parent, she's like, something's not really right. The baby is like barely making any little noises, pretty much like a little wounded puppy, like, like not really crying, and doesn't really move, and pretty much staying restrained. Like, if I stay still, it won't hurt type of deal. And she was just so concerned that she took the baby on April 24th to, which was a whole day and a half later, to the ER. And he was admitted because they found so much wrong with this poor baby. He had, to the naked eye, he didn't have any bruises on him. He didn't have any, and he wasn't like screaming when you touched something that was wounded or that pained him. Because I just think at this point he was just so done. He's 4 weeks old. Come on now. And so the staff at the hospital, they did x-rays and CT scans, and poor little Michael, he had 13 rib fractures. 13. He ain't about this big. So 13 rib fractures. Evidence of some of them healing, which means he's 4 weeks old. You are abusing this baby from the time he came home. And so he had fractures near both his knees and one of his ankles. His head showed bleeding on the surface of his brain, and a subdural hematoma in various locations, at least 2 different ages. So some were days old, some were weeks old. And he was basically lucky to be alive. No baby, no human, no person should have to go through this type of trauma, but he did. his whole life up until that point, he lived in pain, constant pain. So does Jason deserve to be on death row? You damn right he deserves to be on death row. Does Krissy? My opinion, she does. But she was not charged with anything for Michael or baby Jason, just Montana. Now, Krissy claimed she had nothing to do with baby Jason's death. She claimed that Montana had to have been hurt while she was at work, and she had no idea Michael had any injuries because she didn't do anything to him and she never saw Jason harm him. But yeah, so during an interview with Krissy, she would tell the detectives that Montana died in the trailer on February 10th, 2001. After working all morning long, she came home. She came home back to the trailer, and Jason greeted her and was telling her, I have to tell you something. Krissy entered the trailer. She goes over to Montana, who they had laying in a bathtub. And the sergeant who was interviewing her asked, what was Montana's condition when you picked her up? Krissy responded, she was fine. The sergeant then asked, was she alive? Krissy responded, no, she wasn't alive. What in the entire hell? How? What? A child. Krissy then stated that Montana was wrapped in a blanket and felt cold because she was dead. She didn't unwrap her. She didn't call 911 or seek assistance from anyone, and nor had Jason. After sitting on a toilet holding Montana for a while, claimed Krissy, they left the trailer and they went to stay at a motel, leaving Montana behind in the bathtub because Krissy didn't want to deal with it. And she still didn't get the death penalty. Krissy told the sergeant that Jason claimed he had put Montana in the bathtub with a bottle of milk and cereal, then left the trailer. When he came back inside, Montana was dead and had puke, and she had puke all around her and on her face. Krissy acknowledged she didn't see any vomit on or around the baby. When the sergeant asked Krissy about the fact Montana died under similar circumstances to Jason, she said that nobody showed her the autopsy results, and no one ever told her anything. She also stated that she thought maybe Jason had died from a spider bite. While they were living in a tent in Vermont, she did admit that she didn't examine his body for evidence of a spider bite or call the authorities following his death, but she didn't think she did anything wrong. She stated that she wanted to keep him near her, and so she kept his remains in a plastic container in the back seat of the car as they drove around the country. They then left Jason in a trailer at a storage facility in Arizona before moving to California. But you wanted him to be near you, huh? Krissy put Montana's dead body in a bag in a storage compartment under their bed in their trailer so they could keep her longer, is what Krissy said. Krissy said this. And she just wanted him to stay with her so she could sleep. Yeah. So Krissy told the sergeant, Michael was born on March 21st, 2002. She claimed Michael was in good health and had no injuries. However, no one other than Krissy and Jason cared for him. And she claimed Jason was a good father and she never saw him violent with any of the children. But yet he has all these injuries. On April 8th, 2014, the jury deliberated. Yes, I'm looking at it like, what? I'm sorry. After deliberating for 65 minutes, they found Krissy guilty of second-degree murder. The trial court sentenced her to 15 years to life in state prison for the murder of Montana Hann. Krissy was never charged for baby Jason's murder or, once again, any of the neglect and abuse to Michael Hann. Now, Jason entered a no contest plea to second-degree murder for the death of baby Jason, the 6-week-old. He was sentenced to 27 to 30 years in prison in Vermont on March 1st, 2006. Now, Jason was in prison when officials in Vermont agreed to extradite him to California to stand trial for Montana's death. He was indicted by a grand jury in September 2009. A California judge sentenced Jason to death December 19th, 2013 for the murder of his daughter, Montana. Jason's attorney, Brenda Miller, said during the trial that her client suffered from bipolar disorder and his emotions came to a peak with the baby's continual crying. Didn't have anything to do with the fact that he broke her legs, resulting in the death of the infant. She said he told a detective that he struck the baby on the side of the head, saying, "I just flipped out. Something just came over me." Yeah, the baby's this big. I don't understand it. As of March 13th, 2019, the death penalty has been suspended in the state of California. I'm just so proud. Our little governor, Gavin Newsom, he denounced the death penalty, the whole system. He called it ineffective, irreversible, immoral, and he signed an executive order granting a reprieve to 737 inmates on death row in California. Yeah, it's only good as long as he holds office. Needless to say, I'm voting for his ass. But Jason's currently being held in San Quentin, a male facility. He claims to identify now as a woman. On November 14, 2008, he petitioned to change his name on his birth certificate to reflect his new legal name, Jessica Marie Hann, and his gender as a female. He is now allowed personal property items in accordance to his gender identity, such as bras, hair rollers, and makeup. Poor little Montana. She'll never wear a bra. She'll never wear hair rollers. She'll never wear makeup. The little pesky 8th Amendment, the U.S. Constitution, it requires that prisons provide medically necessary treatment for inmates' medical needs. Since when is gender reassignment medically necessary? Now, you want to say, oh, these people that it's traumatic to them and mentally they can't deal. They want to cut off their genitalia. They want to do all that. Well, you know what? You shouldn't have committed a crime to get your ass where you're at. So you need to figure it out. Or stay a law-abiding citizen and pay for your own surgery. How about that? Yeah, but nope, that's just me. And everybody's saying I'm cruel and evil and unusual, but hey. California was the first state to pay for a prisoner's reassignment surgery. And I am thoroughly ashamed to be a Californian at this point, but California officials agreed in August 2015 to pay for the surgery of Shiloh Heavenly Quinn, who was convicted of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and robbery for ransom and has no possibility of parole. But the good old state of California paid for him to become a her. Yeah, on our dime. So, and I mean, I know people now that they want to get it. They have boobs they no longer want. They have chest that they want boobs. They got to pay for it out of their own money. Some can get certain things done under their medical insurance that they do have, that either they pay into some sort or somebody, their employer pays for. Certain things they can get done, depending on, what the diagnosis is. But then again, this is them being a law-abiding citizen, paying their taxes, paying their bills, having medical insurance, or, some way, somehow, either by spouse, by parent, by whatever, but they have it, and it's not coming out of my pocket. Now, I know people are, it's a very small amount. Why are you so worried about that small amount? Because you know what? It's not even about that small amount, because I could be sitting here talking about, I don't want prisoners to get dental treatment because I know a whole lot of people walking around without dental treatment. But it's not that. The point is that everybody is making this big deal about all these things and the rights for prisoners, but forgetting about the victim. The victim who doesn't even get to breathe air anymore. And you want to give all of this to somebody who shouldn't be breathing air anymore? That bothers me. And if it doesn't bother you, so be it. But it bothers me. If you have committed a heinous crime such as the ones I've just spoke of, there's no reason for you to be breathing the same air as any of us. I am so over all of these people. I mean, he confessed. He did this crime. This isn't a whodunit or maybe he's innocent. Maybe. No. This dude is not innocent at all. And he's supposed to die. Has Governor Newsom not lifted the death penalty for everybody and given them a free pass to live their best life until he's out of office, he would be coming up on a date, I'm quite sure. So can't be doing surgery on somebody who's already dead, right? So this is where I'm going with this. So at the end of the day, I just find that we should not have to foot the bill for those types of surgeries. I'm sorry. I just don't see it. So once again, he's in San Quentin on death row. Lynn Werntz is serving a 15-year sentence in Chowchilla. The couple's infant son, Michael, was placed in foster care and has since been adopted. That is the case today. This is the end of the case today. I want to thank you all for hanging out with me. Please comment below. Let me know how you feel about the death penalty. Let me know how you feel about the fact that he wants to have this type of elective surgery, because at this point it's elective to me. And how you feel about it. And let's have a civil, respectful conversation about it. Until next time, thank you very much, and deuces.